This is the last video in the secondary tool series of the QGIS plugin Terra Antiqua to make paleoreconstructions. These are tools that don't belong to the main reconstruction workflow. They are dedicated to smaller tasks, complementary to the primary reconstruction, and can be used at different steps of the process. They are more numerous than the primary tools, but have a more limited functionality, so they are grouped in two videos. This is the second part. If you haven't seen the first part, the link is at the end of this video and in the description. This video presents 4 of those standard processing tools: calculate bathymetry, set new sea level, change symbology, and prepare masks. For each of these, I will do a summary of its functionality, I will present the user interface and the dedicated page in the manual, and then show step-by-step indications on how to use it. The simplest way to do a reconstruction with Terra Antiqua is to use the provided paleobathymetry files previously calculated based on geodynamic parameters. This is the approach used in the previous videos when I presented the primary tools. In that case, we took the bathymetry reconstruction formula. Calculate bathymetry is a tool that is only necessary if you want to generate your own paleobathymetry based on modern bathymetry extrapolated back in time according to the age of the lithosphere. If you choose this approach and want to use this tool, you should do it before you start the main reconstruction. That is, before the tool compiled topobathymetry, because the resulting raster is the one you will use in the compilation. This is the only input file you need, the ocean age grid in raster format. This is the formula used to convert the age of the ocean floor into depth. For that, we need to know how old the ocean floor was at the time of reconstruction. If the values of the ocean age grid are expressed relative to that time, they are taken directly from the raster. Otherwise, the ocean age for the formula has to be calculated. The way this calculation takes place is detailed here in the manual. Let's see how it works. To open the tool, go to the icon of the standard processing tools and select Calculate Bathymetry in the list. Now we see the user interface. The help text on the right describes the parameters on the left. If you click Help on the lower left-hand corner, you will go to the manual. This is a static website with all the documentation about Terra Antiqua and step-by-step indications for each tool. Here you have all the info about the tools, technical details, warnings, and even guiding tips. It works as a complement of the help text in the tools dialog I showed before. This is a page for Calculate Bathymetry. At the beginning, you can see the paragraphs I showed before about how the tool functions in detail, with 3 examples. Please take your time to understand these before using the tool. It is very important. For the rest of the video, I will follow these step-by-step indications. First, select the raster with the ocean age and then fill in these fields with the appropriate parameters. In this case, the age values of the raster are expressed relative to 30 million years ago, and we are working on a reconstruction 30 million years ago. So 30 is the age of the raster, and 30 is the time of reconstruction. In this video, I will describe 3 more standard processing tools. All of these are under the same module called Standard Processing Tools in this icon. In this menu, you can choose which one of these tools to use. This means the interfaces are very similar, and a common part to all of them is the definition of the output file path. I will explain it once and refer to this part in the rest of the video. Feel free to use the chapters option to come back here anytime. Once it's all set, you can either define an output file path or use the default one, which will create a file in the temporary folder of your system. If anything goes wrong, check this log and refer to the section in the manual about troubleshooting or use the contact form to report the problem. The link is at the bottom of every page or here in contributions. This is the result. As you see, the ocean age values have been converted to depth values, generating a bathymetry raster. This can be used for the compilation at the beginning of the main workflow with the primary tool compiled topobathymetry. There is a video explaining that part of the reconstruction. The link is in the description and at the end of the video. Set new sea level is a secondary tool that can be used anytime. This is a global reconstruction of the topography and bathymetry 30 million years ago. It has been made using Terra Antiqua, and the shoreline was defined with the primary tool set paleoshorelines. Link in the description. Another method to change the shoreline is this tool, set new sea level. It is very simple and only has one parameter, which is the meters that will be added to or subtracted from the topography and bathymetry. Go to the icon of the standard processing tools and select Set New Sea Level in the list. Now we see the user interface. The help text on the right describes the only parameter for this tool. If you click Help on the lower left-hand corner, you will go to the manual. This is a static website with all the documentation about Terra Antiqua and step-by-step indications for each tool. Here you have all the info about the tools, technical details, warnings, and even guiding tips. It works as a complement of the help text in the tools dialog I showed before. This is the page for Set New Sea Level. For the rest of the video, I will follow these step-by-step indications. Let's go back to the tool. Here you can enter by how many meters the sea level has to be shifted. If you enter a positive value, the sea level will be higher. So the topography will be lower and the bathymetry deeper. Conversely, if you enter a negative value, the sea level will decrease, meaning a shallower bathymetry and a higher topography. All in all, this tool redefines the shorelines in a new way. Here, the depth and elevation values of the whole map will change according to the sea level shift, and the shoreline's position will change following this shift instead of being controlled by polygons, which is the case with the primary tool set paleoshorelines. Change Symbology is another secondary tool that can be used anytime. This is the default color scheme that we developed for Terra Antiqua. QGIS offers some native options to edit the symbology and the color palettes, but they are not always very intuitive. This tool is a simple way of switching between different color schemes that you can choose from a list or download from the internet. Unlike every other tool, this one doesn't generate any output file. It just changes the symbology of a pre-existing raster file. Go to the icon of the standard processing tools and select Change Map Symbology in the list. Now we see the user interface. The help text on the right describes the parameters and the different options that this tool offers. If you click Help on the lower left-hand corner, you will go to the manual. This is a static website with all the documentation about Terra Antiqua and step-by-step indications for each tool. Here you have all the info about the tools, technical details, warnings, and even guiding tips. It works as a complement of the help text in the tools dialog I showed before. This is the page for Change Map Symbology. For the rest of the video, I will follow these step-by-step indications. Feel free to pause this video at any moment and take your time to read these paragraphs and the help text on the tool, since they are much more detailed and include some specific recommendations. Let's go back to the tool. The raster to modify is the raster you want to change the symbology from. Then, you just need to choose the color palette you want for this raster. The list of palettes that comes with Terra Antiqua is limited, So you also have the option to load a color palette of your choice. In the manual, there is a section dedicated to the color palettes where you will find links to large online libraries where you can download the palettes you want and then use them in Terra Antiqua. Let's run the tool. You see it changed the symbology of this raster but did not generate any new file. Let's run it again to change it back. It's very quick and easy to use. This is the last of the secondary tools. It is currently not used in the standard workflow that we represent on these videos. Prepare masks is a necessary preliminary step for a particular methodology, where instead of continental blocks, one uses a series of polygons and lines defining the continents, shallow seas, and continental shelves that all rotate in G-plates before using Terra Antiqua. That way, you would end up with several vector files at the beginning of Terra Antiqua's workflow, which would have to be combined into a single file. That method was developed before Terra Antiqua and provides an alternative starting point to the one presented in these videos and tutorials. This tool also fixes, for the input files, invalid geometries that can hinder the use of some of the primary tools. Prepare Masks has a different icon and is outside of the standard processing tools. This is due to the evolution of Terra Antiqua, and we will not get into details. In fact, this might change in future versions of Terra Antiqua. This video is about the version 1.1 of the plugin, where this tool still exists and is functional. Click on this icon and open the user interface. The help text on the right describes the parameters and the different options that this tool offers. It explains how this tool will combine the features of different shapefiles you enter into a single file, fixing invalid geometries. If you click Help on the lower left-hand corner, you will go to the manual. This is a static website with all the documentation about Terra Antiqua and step-by-step indications for each tool. Here you have all the info about the tools, technical details, warnings, and even guiding tips. It works as a complement of the help text in the tools dialog I showed before. This is the page for Prepare Masks. This paragraph explains how the tool will combine different mask layers into a single one. It's a reference to the Bathymetry methodology that I mentioned before, where instead of a single file with continental blocks, several shapefiles were rotated in G-plates. In case you are following such a methodology, this tool will generate a single shapefile that you can use with Terra Antiqua, acting effectively as a sort of bridge between both methodologies. For the rest of the video, I will follow these step-by-step indications. Feel free to pause this video at any moment and take your time to read these paragraphs and the help text on the tool, since they are much more detailed and include some specific recommendations. Any future change of this and the other tools of the plugin will immediately be explained in this website manual, which is being constantly updated and is the most reliable source of information and updates about Terra Antiqua. The use of this tool is very easy. You only have to add to this list the shapefiles you want to merge. They will be combined in order, the ones on top clipping underlying layers. In the generated file, the features will have an attribute called category. This is meant to reflect which layer each feature came from. In this table, you may decide what will be written in that attribute for the features coming from each of the input layers. In this case, I will use the names of each layer. I'm not 100% sure these are the right names because all these shapefiles are called polyline and polygon. If you are using this method, you should name your shapefiles clearly. But I'm not doing a real reconstruction here. This is just an example to show you how the tool works. This is the result: a single file containing all the features from the input layers. Potential invalid geometries in the vector data have also been solved. This is the end of the standard processing tools part 2, as well as the playlist for the secondary tools of Terra Antiqua. Thank you for following this playlist, and we hope these videos will be helpful for everyone that wants to try out our plugin. To stay updated, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and of course, check our official website regularly.